Well, joining me now to get more on Italy's plight is Natascha Gewaltig. She is Director of European Economics at Action Economics. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell me a little bit about the specific challenges that Italy is dealing with as it tries to balance its books.
Well, I mean, Italy has a huge budget deficit, not a huge budget deficit, as all other Eurozone countries as well, but especially a huge debt level. And
yes.
That amounts to, or is going to amount to 120% of GDP next year. So you can imagine, even if it balances its budget, it needs a substantial amount of surpluses in order to get off these debt levels. And that, of course, puts a much bigger pressure on Italy than on countries with fewer or lesser deficits.
Indeed. Now, one of the major issues that we've seen happening in Greece, Portugal and Ireland is that when you bring in these harsh austerity cuts, you stop growth. Now, Italy already has a problem with growth. So how do you find that balance between not allowing Italy to simply stagnate and bringing in the austerity cuts that are needed?
I think Germany is a good example of how you can do it. Germany had huge deficits, a huge loss of competitiveness after the unification, and it has managed to, on the one hand, reform the economy, put the necessary structural reform in place, and at the same time bring the deficit down. And I think that really has to serve as a blueprint elsewhere as well. You have to have structural reforms that make the economy more competitive, and I think Italy, as well as Greece, have lost enormous amount on that front. And you need the spending cuts, obviously, at the right point, at the right position. Just tax hikes alone are only going to throttle the economy and are not going to be helpful.
Indeed. When you talk about structural reforms, is one of those areas employment? Because there are quite a lot of restrictions surrounding employment in Italy, aren't there?
Yes, I think that is one of the issues you have to look at. If you look at Germany, it actually managed to keep employment relatively stable even during the downturn, and that was with the help of special measures the government had put into place. And I think that is one of the issues that are big on the agenda in Italy, but also in Spain, for example, where wage indexation is still an issue in some areas. So I think there was a huge room, there's considerable room across most of Eurozone countries for structural reforms that can make the economies more competitive and help growth.
Now, of course, in Italy, you've also got a lot of political wrangling going on.
Yeah.
How much does that play into an extra problem for Italy, or will they try not to allow that to sort of derail Italy's recovery?
Well, it always is a big issue in Italy because you have these huge multi-party coalitions, and that always brings tension. It always makes it very difficult to pass anything that looks like a very controversial reform. And of course, another issue that, apart from the austerity measures we see now, one that is going to be a huge problem in the whole of Europe is the issue of the aging population. And the measures now include some form of bringing forward planned hikes in retirement age, but there is a considerable amount that needs to be done across the Eurozone. And I think in Italy, the political situation is a huge stumbling block to big reforms on that front as well.
Okay. Natascha, thank you very much indeed for sharing all that with us.